Canada has declared a state of emergency due to a spike in suicide attempts. The state of emergency was declared by the remote northern community of Attawapiskat, First Nations, which has 2,000 people. Nearly a dozen of the community's members tried to take their own lives this month, and 28 attempted to commit suicide in March. Previous reports indicate that poverty and inequality are fueling the suicide crisis among the Indigenous people. A member of the Parliament said that there has not been a serious response from any level of the Canadian government so far. There are some 1.4 million Aboriginals in Canada, who make up 4% of the population. They struggle with poverty, discrimination, as well as high rates of crime and suicide. Aboriginals have a lower life expectancy than other Canadians. Well, to discuss that further, I'm joined by Mr. Alfred Lambert-Weber, who is an international lawyer, joining us live now by Skype from Vancouver. Mr. Weber, how much of a silent epidemic is this treatment that is needed out to the First Nations people of Canada?
Yes, this is an extraordinary epidemic which will continue, I believe, having spent time myself in the Yukon studying this issue. Unless fundamental changes are made, it was actually 11 suicide attempts on Saturday night, on one single night. And you indicated that there were 1.4 million Aboriginals. Well, to give you an idea of the utter genocide that the colonist society committed here in Canada, when the colonists arrived in Canada, there were 100 million natives of Canada here. 100 million Aboriginals. That's 3 times the current population of Canada. There are only 1.5 million of 100 million remaining. The rest were genocided. And that is a fact which is not known and which is now continually denied by the settler colonist population. And all of the steps which have been taken have been to sweep that under the rug in lip service and in denial. And there was a policy called the residential school policy, which was to commit even more of a cultural genocide with the Aboriginals that were remaining in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. And that is why in the current remnant of the 1.4 million, you have an utterly dysfunctional society, such as what occurred over this weekend with the 11 suicide attempts on Saturday night in a community of 2,000, and why the Canadian population is utterly helpless. And that is intentional depopulation carried out by the Vatican and by the British throne, the British monarchy, which intentionally did all of this from the 100 million down to the 1.4 million without doing anything. What's the solution? This is what the solution is. It's to get the existing Aboriginal population out from the Indian Act, in which they are complete social prisoners now, and to place them under complete sovereignty, as Quebec is, as a sovereign, separate, and unique society of the French, so that you have 3 distinct, separate, independent populations in Canada. You have the Anglo population, you have the French population, and you have the Aboriginal population. All 3 of them guaranteed sovereignty under the Constitution and not under the Indian Act, and all 3 of them having complete rights and designated parts in the Parliament and in the Senate. And this is something that the ruling white settler culture, which is dominated by the Masons, by the Vatican, by the City of London bankers, and by the UK monarchy, will not allow. And that's the problem, and that's the solution, in my opinion.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there at that point. But of course, as always, Mr. Weber, we do appreciate you taking your time to speak to us. There's Mr. Alfred Lambert Weber, who will be speaking to us live from Vancouver.
Thank you very much.
A partial result.
Thanks so much, Mr. Weber. I very much appreciate it.